Hello, everybody. This is episode number 11. The 1-1. The lucky number 11. I don't even know if that's a real lucky number or not. But today, we have my grandparents. My beautiful grandparents. And let's get to it. This is another episode of My Subjective Perspective with Jordan Fischer.
And why did he make you so special? Why did he bless you? Think about it. I woke up this morning. Gotta smile when I say that shit. I woke up this morning. Go.
And we are on with my grandparents. My grandma did not want to be on camera, which is why this is an audio file. She said she doesn't look good enough or something like that.
I look too good. I don't want to...
Look too good.
Yeah, I look too good.
But you smell terrible. No, I'm just kidding. But, well, I guess we didn't even have any topics. But something I would like to talk about with you guys, because I think this is one of the coolest stories. Like, whenever I heard it for the first time, the second, third, all the times I've heard this story, I just think it's really cool and it really defines you two as, like, who you are. And that's the story about adopting Kurt. I don't know if you want to talk about that or not.
It's not that I mind talking about it. I just think it's kind of Kurt's story.
Right.
And I don't know that he would want us telling it to the world.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah. I mean, your mom just asked me about Mason. She said he was curious and Kurt didn't want to talk about it. So I guess if he doesn't want to talk about it, we probably shouldn't talk about it. He's just our son, and we love him just like we do the other three children, and we're very
And he's
happy.
the coolest guy. He's the coolest.
He's very cool. He's very smart. He's very sensitive. He's a wonderful person, and I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I can't say I'm proud of him, but I mean, he was like 30 when I was born. But I mean, he's awesome. He's an awesome uncle.
He's a great uncle. He's a great father. He's a great son. And so what else do you want to talk about?
Well, one of my favorite stories that you guys have told me is what, didn't you own like apartment complexes or something, and then one burnt down?
Yeah, and we celebrated.
You guys, yeah, because it was like a total nuisance for you, right?
It was a nuisance.
Did you lose a lot of money?
No, we didn't lose any money, but we lost a lot of time, and we lost a lot of respect for humanity. It was a learning lesson for us because we had rented when we first got married, and we always took care of everybody's property and respected the fact that was theirs, and and we took care of it. And so when we bought these apartments,
you kind of think people are going to go with the same mentality that you did. Almost.
Well, we looked at it as we were helping people that did not have as much as we had, and we wanted to provide a really good place for them to live. A good, clean place, where everything was in working order. And my standard was that if I wouldn't live there, I wouldn't ask somebody else to live there.
Uh-huh.
And it was a situation that they totally took advantage of us, and a few of them were really good tenants. And I was afraid Grandpa was going to get killed because they wouldn't pay their rent on time, and you know how he is.
Wait, would you go over there, Grandpa, and just knock on the door?
Every day.
Every day?
Well, you know how he is when somebody owes him money.
Right.
He would.
As I've seen in the recent, yeah.
Yeah, he would. He always paid his bills, and it was a big deal to him that if you owed somebody something, you paid it.
Well, it's a big deal to me as well. I mean, I don't know, you have to be noble with money, you have to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's completely understandable that you are that way.
Not all of these people like to be reminded that they owed him money, so one time he went over there and this guy opened the drawer and showed him this gun.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, I'm done with these things. And we would go.
Were you over there with him?
No, I wasn't.
How did he show it to you? How did he present just the gun?
Open the drawers. Open the drawer, Office.
He just opened the drawer.
Didn't touch it or anything.
It was pretty
like-
much. It was a threat. It was kind of
Right, like a nonchalant threat, so like you couldn't.
And he had a sign on his door too that.
How old were you guys when this was?
Oh my goodness, the boys were in high school.
Oh, really, really?
Yeah,
I thought
because
this was earlier.
no, they were in high school because we would make them go over and mow the lawn and do things. So
Right.
we actually owned it with my sister and her
Did you
husband.
compensate them at all?
Yes, we paid them.
Okay.
We shouldn't have, but we did. We fed them.
No idea.
Yeah.
$20 a minute or something.
We paid them
really?
well. Yeah.
Paid them well. I mean, that's not
And they
true.
mowed the lawn.
Anyway, right? So they take all my taxes. They say, here, work 1 hour and I give you $100.
Uh-huh.
I get to give to them anyway because it was in high school or college or wherever.
I think they were in high school,
They
but
were in college.
and then we had people like we would go in. You know, people would totally not take care of the place. I think we had like 7 apartments, and
Were they connected?
and some of them were and some of them weren't. One
Okay.
of them was a house that had like 3 in it, and the other one had like
Right.
4. And then there was a trailer pad that we rented behind it. And so we would go in and we would clean the place thoroughly after somebody lived there, and the stoves would just be gross.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would, whatever needed to be done, you know. If we needed new flooring, we'd put new flooring in. It was thoroughly cleaned.
Right.
And then we would re-rent it. And it was very disillusioning when we put brand new carpeting in this place. You'd think people would appreciate having a nice place to live, and they were not really expensive apartments, but they were nice.
I'm sure they appreciated it to some degree, but you're probably right. Like, not nearly as much as some. Yeah. Maybe not.
I don't want to say low life, but they were just, I guess
They had a different standard.
there's something I'm trying to remember what it is. It's like a trapping order. What is it?
They had a different
order.
standard of living than what we would demand for ourselves, and we would try to get the apartments so that they were up to our standards.
Well,
Right.
I put new carpeting in one of them. So within a week, I went over there to get his rent again, and he had taken the engine out of his car, and there it was on a brand new carpet.
No, really?
Just
All the oil and everything?
Yes.
He didn't put anything on it. On the he
Really?
could have put a rug or he put something on it.
That's absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion.
That's what I call a low life.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean,
It was a
I
total
wouldn't say low life,
disrespect.
you know,
well, it was cheap real estate, right?
It was not expensive real estate, but like I said, if I wouldn't live in it, I wouldn't ask them to live in it and charge them rent. And the rent was very
I like
low.
that philosophy. I like that philosophy a lot.
Yeah, you treat other people the way you want to be treated.
Uh-huh.
And he disassembled that engine in the floor, totally ruined the carpet. We had to replace it after he got kicked out.
Oh.
And and then we had this couple that lived there. And they decided they were going to move somewhere else, which was great, a bigger place. I think they had kids or something.
Uh-huh.
And they moved out, and the place that they moved to did not have a very nice stove, a kitchen stove in it, and ours had a very nice one. So
They
they
took the
came
stove.
over and disconnected our stove and took it to their new place and put the old one in our apartment.
No way.
Yeah, and your grandpa,
These are losers.
and you know your grandpa, he's not going to put up with that. So he and his brother-in-law, they took the truck and they went over to the place where they moved, and they said, "We are here to get our stove."
That's savage.
that's not all I told him.
That's justice, really?
Okay, we don't want to hear all you told us.
Scared to death.
So they got the stove and they brought it back, and then we had the gun incident where the guy he had this sign, that I think he was a fugitive from the law, probably.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. So then we had this lady
He's clearly not scared of violence. whoever it
right,
was.
and we were very generous with them. If they didn't have money to pay rent, if it was groceries or rent, you know, we would let it go until they could afford to pay. And these weren't expensive apartments, so they couldn't have.
$600 when they burned down.
Yeah.
I never did see that.
So then we had, there was a lady that lived there, and she was very severely diabetic, and she didn't take care of herself, and she was losing her hair. And we felt really sorry for her. And she had a little boy, and she worked really hard, you know, and tried to do the best that she could. But she was half sick, and she was working nights, and then she would sleep. And so she was sleeping, and her little boy was playing, and he got a roll of toilet paper and was playing with matches.
I like where this is going.
No, you don't.
Wait, this is how it burned down?
Yeah.
No way.
So
Wow.
he got the toilet paper and he set it on fire, and then it scared him. He wasn't very old. He was probably 6 or 7.
I think.
No, he was older than 3, but I think he was about 6 maybe. And he got scared because the toilet paper's on fire, and he knew he was in trouble. So he threw it behind the dresser.
Oh, caught the dresser on fire?
The dresser it was like next to the wall, and it had a mirror that was really tall, and it went almost all the way to the ceiling. These are like 8-foot ceilings. So that toilet paper caught the drywall on fire, and the cardboard on the back of the dresser, and it went straight up to the attic, caught the attic on fire. And
So this thing burning in all levels.
so it was burning, yeah. And so somebody called the fire department, and they came over, and it was total. I mean, fire was everywhere, and the people had to move out, and everybody in that area had to move out. And the Red Cross came and helped them, you know,
Wow.
gave money and all that stuff to get a temporary place to stay. So we
Was
had
it stressful at first? Because you said it was exciting whenever it first happened. Or...
It wasn't exciting to me. I didn't know it. We had a maintenance man that we were allowing to live on the property, and he kind of looked after things and fixed people's problems, you know, if they came up.
Right.
And so he called and said that there had been a fire and that the fire department had come and put it out, and we go, okay. So we went to bed for the night. Later in the evening, because everybody was safe, and that was what we were concerned about. And
Right.
everybody was taken care of. So later in the evening, he called and he said that fire started up again. And by this time, I was so fed up with those apartments.
You're just like, whatever.
And I
Just
know,
let it be.
and I knew that all the people that were in there were out safe, and I knew that they probably got better stuff from the Red Cross than what they had.
Right.
And so I'm like, he said, this fire started up again. And I said, okay, we'll be right over. We'll call the fire department when we get there. So the place was totaled.
Oh, you didn't even go over?
Yeah, we went over.
Oh, did you
yeah,
call
but
the fire?
Yeah, we called the fire department. It was totaled.
Oh, okay. I thought you were implying that you just let it burn.
No, but he said it was pretty well gone. And I said, well, we'll be over. You know,
That's
we went
crazy.
over. So then that they were nothing but a nightmare. And
82 and you're now.
so then, you know, they burned to the ground. We had insurance on them, so we collected the insurance on it, and then we had to pay for the cleanup. And the insurance company, we had a clause in there. I knew the insurance policy, and your dad didn't sell it to us, by the way. We had a clause in the insurance policy that said that the insurance company had to give, if we had a fire, they had to give us so much money for the debris cleanup and everything.
Right.
Well, they said they weren't going to do that. So it was a big hassle trying to get them to pay, but they paid. You know, they paid, and we got it all cleaned up and everything, and all the debris removed. And then after that, we did not rebuild those apartments. I was sick to death of them. I never wanted to see another rent.
And this is your introduction to real estate, or had you already done?
I was already involved in real estate, but this was our introduction to renting apartments.
Right.
And our whole goal in that was to rent apartments at a reasonable rate that were in good condition for people that thought we were doing a good thing.
Right, and it sounds like your head was at the right spot.
Yeah, our head was in the right spot, but man, it was a hassle. I'm done with this. You know, I'm like done with this. So then we sold the property to a church that was in the neighborhood, and that we gave that to Krisha. She bought a car for it for college.
No, wow.
Yeah, so we made no profit on that.
That's so noble. Like everything. Wait, let's talk about your time you spent over in Italy. Like, I mean, you guys can kind of choose wherever you want to start on that.
Well, I don't know.
There's so much to talk about.
I don't know what you want to know. Your grandpa was in the Air Force, and he got sent to Italy, Brindisi, Italy, to the air base there. And
Brindisi?
Brindisi.
Brindisi?
Brin, B-R-I-N.
Okay.
Brindisi, Italy.
We called it Brindisi. It was Brindisi.
Okay, well, whatever.
Make a difference.
But anyway,
It's a town in southern Italy.
Okay.
he got stationed there, and he was an airman, and we were so poor. We had no money, so probably had to go back to the time that we were married, and he enlisted in the Air Force, and he got sent to San Antonio, Texas for basic training.
And that's what you were just talking about before we started recording. That was
about 100 degrees.
And that was 8 weeks?
That's April. April 3rd is when I went in.
That's one of my good friend's birthdays.
Yeah, and April 3rd,
Uh-huh.
beginning of April, right after March, it would be 100 degrees, and when it got over 95, I guess, they let us stay inside. But if it's 95, we're out outside all day long and
Right.
doing all those push-ups and all the kind of crap that they make you do.
While they're screaming at
That
you.
was Air Force. That was easy compared to Army and Marines.
I believe it, especially the Marines.
Marines, my brother, and the Marines, they're crazy. They keep you 3 months,
How long is Navy SEAL training?
2 years, I think.
That's 2 years?
You have to be really tough to do that. I really admire those guys.
Yeah. There's a guy I really like. His name's David Goggins, and he's insane. He's like an Iron Man. He's considered like the world's toughest man or whatever. He was a Navy SEAL. He's ran in like he's ran in marathons, but he's running a race that was 125 miles long. Like he's done like everything. And yeah, anyway.
So anyway, he was in Texas, and he got out of there, and they sent him to Biloxi, Mississippi. And we were married, so at that point I could go. I couldn't go with him when he was in basic training.
Uh-huh.
So I went to Biloxi, we went to Biloxi, Mississippi, and Biloxi, Mississippi, I think, is one of the sand capitals of the world. And when we were there were thunderstorms every day at the afternoon. It was almost like
Wait, sand?
Sand, yeah. It was almost like clockwork that these thunderstorms would come in the afternoon.
Was that a river we walked to and
No, it was the Gulf of Mexico.
overseas?
No, we're in Brindisi. I mean, we're in Biloxi. We're in
It
Biloxi.
was walking distance from our little tiny apartment, about third side of this room.
It was
about third the side. It wasn't even that big.
It was like almost like a one-room apartment. We had the kitchen and a couch, and then we had this little room that the bed barely fit in. I think we had to crawl in bed at the end because it was so little.
I think it took up the whole room except maybe half this much. This would be against the wall. The bed would be against the wall. There wasn't any king size, and the crap like came along later on. So the room was literally. Well, the bed was bigger than this.
It's probably 10 feet wide, 8 feet wide. I don't know.
But it was about the same size as the room. And he had maybe this much room, You
Okay.
go to bed, you just crawl on the bed and crawl up and get in the bed.
So what'd you guys do after that?
Well, that sand blew the sand would blow, and literally.
Oh, that's what you mean by sand cat.
Yeah, it would blow in the house.
It's like the desert almost?
No, it was just beaches from the Gulf of Mexico, the sand.
Okay.
And there were storms every afternoon, and then he had his training there, and we lived right off base, and we would walk to the commissary to buy groceries, and then sometimes we could afford a taxi to come home, but it cost 10 cents to go to the movie, and we didn't have that 10 cents.
Oh, wow, that's outrageous.
Yeah.
You didn't have any TV or anything on that, did we?
No,
Those outlandish
But
prices.
we could walk to the beach, and we had. I worked when I first got there. I had to get a job because we did not have enough money to live on, and it was hard to get a job because we were only going to be there for 6 months.
Uh-huh.
And
6 months. We weren't there 6 months. You talking about you talking about in Mississippi?
yeah, how long were we there then?
Well, I left in November, but we got a month off, so I probably left down there in October. And we got there. I went in April 3rd, so I got out toward the end of May. So it was May, and then June, July, August, September, October.
Yeah, but anyway, so what'd you guys do after that?
So anyway,
I wasn't in school for 8 weeks.
well, I don't know how long you were in school, but it was long enough that I was there. We had no transportation. You rode a bicycle back and forth to the base. I had to get a job.
Oh,
It was
wow.
not a permanent situation, so I couldn't hardly hire. I couldn't find anybody that would hire me. So
Right.
I got a job in this little cafe, and
Is this the place you got fired at?
yeah, this is the place, the place I got fired. It was just literally a little aisle between the counter stools, and they had a few little booths along the wall. And there was only room to walk sideways between them. I
Oh,
don't even know
wow.
how they got a license for that place.
Yeah, that would not fly today.
Yeah. So the first thing I did, I'd never waited tables in my life, so the first thing I did is I spilled a pitcher of ice water down this guy's back,
Oh,
trying to maneuver through there.
that's kind of understandable.
Yeah, well, he wasn't too happy. So I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. And then I go back, and the guy that was in charge there, the manager, he said, okay, go take some order. So I went and took an order, and this guy ordered beer. Well, I'm 18 years old. Alcohol was not allowed in my house. I had no clue how to serve beer.
Right.
So I gave him a nice big glass of ice and poured the beer over it. And that was 2 things in one day. So
Was that like your first day or just?
that was my first day. And the manager said, I don't think you're cut out for this job.
That's funny. I mean,
And I'm like, I totally agree. I am not cut out for this job. I don't like it. Maybe I'll just starve. So I left, and we went down I was walking home, and there was a help wanted sign on this dry cleaners. And so I went in there and applied. And he did military uniforms. That was his business. Mm-hmm. And so he hired me, and he was the neatest guy. He was an ex-Navy guy.
Oh, wow.
And one of his eyes was, I think he was blind in one eye or something. And but he hired me, and he was our salvation because he loved to fish, and he went fishing almost all the time, and he would bring fresh fish back for us, all cleaned and everything, just ready to cook. And I worked for him, and that was really hard work because in Mississippi, no air conditioning in this building, and we're washing. They're washing and pressing the uniforms. And my job was to take them from the presser and a whole stack of them and hang them back in the room and find out who they belong to. I'm sure I probably got that messed up too.
Did you enjoy that more than the serving job?
No, I did not like that job at all. But we needed it to eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Grandpa, what were you doing at this time? Were you doing the testing and all that?
76 out there and 82 in here. It's 82 degrees in here, 76
Oh, wow.
outside. If I had
Yeah, let it in. It feels good. Ever since you opened the window, it
dark,
feels good.
Mosquitoes will come in and just be
Yes.
everywhere at dark.
Right.
Okay.
At least they
I remember that one night there was that on the right on the door, on that glass door, there were just literally the entire thing. There was not a square inch where there was not a mosquito on there.
You were that was not one?
There was not a square inch.
Did you turn that off?
No, it's not paused. I mean, we can just keep talking.
Spit out.
That's not a big deal.
Spit out.
But so what were you doing while she's working these jobs?
Me?
Yeah.
I was in the Air Force.
No, I mean, like, what were you doing in the Air Force, though? You weren't going through basic training, were you? Because you went through basic training before this, and then you went to Mississippi.
Basic training, and then you go someplace and they teach you what you're going to do.
Right.
So I had to learn.
You had to learn Morse code then.
I learned Morse code. And first I had to learn how to type, and I had just gotten out of typing. We did typing as a class.
Uh-huh.
So I just learned how to type as a senior, I think it was. And it was only about a year I was down there learning how to type again. Gizmo, come on.
Hey, Snickers. Snickers.
No.
She can't even get down those stairs. I'm not even worried. She can sit on the patio if she wants. She might be able to get down those 2 stairs, but that 3 or 4 stairs she won't be able to get down. She's too old. She's too fat. But anyway, yeah. So actually, do some Morse code, like just so because I think that's really like intriguing. I think that's cool.
Oh, you mean Morse code? Well, you had to learn a whole bunch of stuff other than just learning that. It's not like anything you'll ever experience, or you won't understand it probably.
No, I don't understand it at all, but like it's still fascinating to me.
Back in the 1880s, I guess, they Morse code. A guy named Morse, the last name was Morse, invented Morse code, and they used that to send, like if you had a letter, you're gonna send it to your friend, 100 miles away.
Right.
They go on the Pony Express first, They take the mail, when they could, and try not to get killed by the Indians. And then the Morse code came along, so if you had a town here and a town here, you could do it beep, 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 and it could go down there. So it had these little machines. It would make a clicking noise. And they somehow, I don't know, electricity wasn't around then. I'm not sure how they got it.
You're not that old.
I didn't know that. No, I'm just saying the history of Morse code. What I took was the electronic Morse code.
Okay.
So it would be dots and dashes. If you had to write it down, it would be 3 dots, it would be a C. And you had to memorize A through Z and 0 through 9.
So are you spelling words like whenever you're doing the beep beep boop 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 boop?
No, it's not English.
But is it like a individual letter and then another individual letter? It's not English.
Letters and numbers.
It was a code. When he actually did that, it was a code. It would not make sense in English. But
you wouldn't have a sentence. All you'd have would be an A, D, question mark, C, I. T,
Okay, so because that's when you had the headphones on, you interpreted the code, you were pretty much typing out the code, whatever you're hearing.
Yeah, I had the earphones on, just like you have now. Earphones on, and I heard through both ears, and it came.
And this is when you're.
But it was really, really fast. And
he had to type it out.
When I was there 6 months, they put me in the back of.
And you're spying on the Russians at this point, right?
Well, when I first got there, they put me in the rookie room.
Rookie, okay.
And I don't have a clue what I did there for 6. But then after 6 months, I had another year to go in Italy. This is the #1 most important. When I say that, it's just like I'm sitting here, the guy here, the guy here, the guy here, all the way down to the other end of the building, So everybody had a typewriter. Same as that, except it was a typewriter. So you'd have to listen to the that's a V.
Uh-huh.
And when somebody in Russia wanted to talk to somebody in another part of Russia, he would let them know that, hey, I'm about to send you a text.
Right.
Today's text. So they would say, beep, 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 beep. And that was a V, and that meant I'm getting ready, you know? And then the other guy on the other end was saying AMI, which is beep, bop, bop, beep, beep, bop, bop, beep. That means I'm
So
here.
you were pretty much interpreting the first ever form of instant communication.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really interesting.
We had phones then. They had phones.
Absolutely, yeah.
Certainly not cell phones.
No, it's the way the military, the different countries would send that. Most of his was from ships and stuff like that. Is that correct? Well, anyway, they would get these messages.
So it's always just interesting to listen to her tell you what I was doing when I don't even understand it.
Well, he would copy this stuff down. It was not his job to interpret it. They had other people that interpreted.
Right. He copied it down. That's why you said
in
whenever
code.
whenever things got tense, they would come in and rip off a big sheet of paper,
Yeah.
run back to the other room.
Yeah, and literally run. They were in the other room. It'd be like we're in this room here, and we're all doing this. Over there was some people getting voice.
Right.
They were listening to Chinese. They were listening to voice.
These were-
You know what? I was getting the electronics. They were actually listening to people talk.
Oh,
I
okay,
told you
okay.
about those guys. They spent 7, 8, 9 months in Harvard.
Learning another language?
Yeah, that's all they've learned is Chinese.
Oh, wow.
They sent
Or
all those
whatever.
guys.
Right.
And the way you get
Still
in it,
insane.
when you get in
Crazy.
the Air Force, when you take all kinds of tests,
Right.
saying, okay, I flunked the one in mechanics. One thing I had fun my
Are
whole
you
life.
surprised?
Here's a round hole. Here's a round thing. Put it in there. I don't think so. Not me. I'm trying to, you know. And so I couldn't do electronics. I mean, I couldn't do mechanics.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of jobs in the Air Force and mechanics. You fix cars and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I could be a mechanic today if I wouldn't have to learn all those years. I wouldn't have to go to college. I could have got out of the Air Force. But I was too stupid to do that. But I did something that only 1/2% of the people in the entire Navy.
Wait, say that again, because I mean, I've heard you say that a lot, so like, I completely understand it, but just reiterate it so that it's like in
You want me
the.
to look it up for you on the internet? Is that-
No, I've seen it on the internet. Just reiterate what you just said into the microphone again.
The top 1/2.
The thing that
You tested in the top half of the 1%, so you pretty much.
the group of people that I was in, and Johnny Cash was in the same thing. I think I told you that. But
Yeah.
he's like Elvis to me. You know, he's a pioneer of music, and he was 10 years older than I was. So in 1953, maybe 20 years older than I was, he went the same thing. I went to Italy and spied on Russia, and I think he went to France or someplace else, and I think he spied on Russia, but I'm not sure about that part of it. But anyway, what was your question?
Well, I just told you to reiterate that you tested in the top half of the 1%. Because I just want that has so much significance. Because you basically were the top out of every 200 people. You were the number one person, statistically speaking. That's what that.
1.5%.
Right.
Half of one.
So I guess 200 people you'd be
number one.
you know.
And you said you work with some of the smartest people ever that you've ever met in your entire life, right?
See, I was 19, turned 20 somewhere in there, and I met all these guys, same age as I was, you know, all over the country, you know. I didn't remember. I'm 19. I don't know anything. You go up on the farm, you don't know anything. I'm talking about less than zero.
Well, you know
No.
different
Well,
things.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I was very smart, you know. I guess. I ended up with these guys. Man, they were.
The standard of smart was different too.
I mean,
as well.
I hung out with them for a year and a half. You know, she came over after 3 months, I think it was, and we hung out with them.
Do you keep up with any of them?
No.
Do you want me to get Snickers real quick?
I thought she wanted to go out.
I think she wants
you
back
lose
in.
them when they leave it. When they left Italy, I left it at one time and they left it at another time. Some of them said they'll stay an extra 3 months. So, no, when the day you leave Italy is the last time you'll ever see any of those people. And we were like living together for a year and a half.
Really?
It's not for
That's
his
kinda bizarre.
particular. He had a special talent for that. So he was he grasped onto that very quickly.
I would
Yeah,
guess.
okay.
I would guess that nobody in our family could make it through that.
Through the military training?
No,
What I did in Biloxi, Mississippi, and what I did for a year and a half, and
Like the Morse code?
it was so fast, and it was basically spying on.
Yeah, true.
when
It was
I don't know
basically
if I could or
spying
not.
on communications between.
well, the thing I don't talk about much is I didn't just have Russia. I had Albania.
Albania.
Albania is a country about the size of this room. You know, I mean we're talking a little country. I doubt they even have an airplane now.
I'm gonna go get the dog real quick. She's whining.
I'm always curious. What is Albania? Population of Albania.
There you go, you crazy dog.
Population of Albania is about 2,822,000.
You're welcome.
Okay, Albania today is 2.8 million people in the whole country.
2.8 million. So realistically, it's probably like, I don't know, it's probably like upper million. I don't know what it'd be, but
Upper million what?
like it was like a million, like say like 1.8 or
Oh,
whatever. Yeah.
back
And
then. But it was a small country, and for some reason, they gave me that. Now this is what theirs.
where is Albania? Is it? I'm guessing South America.
No,
No,
It's over
like
there.
Middle East.
no.
Yeah.
It's
It
the
is?
eastern. It's part of the eastern bloc, isn't it?
Oh well, it doesn't matter that much.
I don't know if. How far is it from Albania to Italy?
Rome, Italy is about 457 miles from Tirana, Albania by car, or about 382 miles as the crow flies.
So from Rome to Albania is 450 miles. So what does that tell you? Rome is in the northern part of Italy. So it wasn't far from Italy.
You edit
But
this
it's-
at all?
It's not a European country.
No.
What is that?
It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. Let's keep the conversation flowing. It's not a big deal. So, actually, Melina just texted me and said, "Do you have the dog?" And I said, "No. Why?"
Your mother just called me and asked, and I said yes.
Oh, really?
And
You
she
ruined
said,
it, Grandma.
She said, "Is Jordan and Snickers there?" And is Jordan there? And I said yes. She said, "Is Snickers there?" And I said yes. And she said, "Well, I was worried about Snickers."
Oh, wow. That's cold. Ice cold. Ice in her veins. Yeah, as far as getting through the training, I don't know if I could personally. I mean, if you say I couldn't, then I don't know.
Physically you could, but
Physically, I could.
you're not ever. Unfortunately, you didn't grow up in an environment. It doesn't sound like anyway.
Well, I mean, you watched me grow up, so you would
You
know.
talk to your friends, they might think, "Sure, I could do that." I mean, I go into the Air Force, I expect them to tell me what to do,
Right.
and you don't question them. Never.
I can be obedient if I want, but I choose not to. I question everything.
So
That's how I like to live life.
I don't know. I think you could have made it. Physically, you would have been the star. You could have done. I don't know. If you were in this kind of shape,
Right.
and
I'd be confident that I can make it through military
the
training.
only thing, I think if you saw it, everybody was around you,
Uh-huh.
people you know, about 30 or 40 people, you'd be in the same living quarters.
Right.
about 30 people. So you get up every day and you march with those people. Now, if there's 30 people there, if 29 of them are doing what they're supposed to be doing, in other words, what you're told, I don't think you'd make yourself a fool out of yourself to argue with somebody trying to.
No, because I would understand beforehand what I'm getting myself into.
You don't know that. No, you wouldn't.
No, I would have some idea. I mean, movies built it
How
up.
would you have?
You may not have because you grew up on a farm, but I would definitely have some.
You guys quit putting down farm people. There's some
I'm not putting-
smartest people I know.
I think by today's standards, you cannot be one of the smartest people. I mean, I guess it's kind of possible, but by today's standards, it's very difficult to be it's very intelligent growing up on a farm. I think that's a huge
Is that
disadvantage.
Why I made it to the top 1/2 of 1%.
I think that's a different time though. Like in your time, it was possible, but like now, I just don't think it's very plausible. It's possible, but I would argue that the probability of that is just extremely small.
You think Scott's wife Michelle is?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying like people. I'm saying people that grew up now, so they're my age, or let's say even younger. Let's say kids that are 10 years old now. They've had the internet their entire lives, and they have it all the way up to wherever. It is possible, but I think people living in a city with the internet is gonna. Because like a lot of like good websites and just good media sources, whatever, that I'm exposed to are because of people I know. I have good references in my life that, hey, check this out. Like people on the farm, they're typically more basic thinkers, and they're probably not going to use the internet
don't
for.
Get my brother into don't challenge him to anything. He'll eat you alive.
Right.
And he's in the farm his whole life, just about.
And I would agree to some extent. Like, I'm just saying, I guess I'm kind of arguing for the stereotype, but there are. I mean, if you live on a farm and you follow your curiosity, I believe that your curiosity is going to take you as far as you let it. As long as you, I mean, if you let it, and I don't think your surroundings have that much to do with it. But the typical farm individual, I mean, there's not that intelligent.
There's some of the most self-sufficient people that there are.
I would agree with that.
And they have more common sense.
They're very.
They can fix things that none of us could fix, and they grow our food.
They have a ton of integrity. A lot of them.
Right.
A lot of honesty. A lot of
sense of community and neighbors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would definitely agree with that.
I would say they could fix everything. They can only fix things if they were growing up. And see, I didn't learn anything from my father. Her brother did. So when he was 20 years old, he could fix his own car, probably do anything even today if he's still alive. I don't even know if he's still alive or not. But he was a self-made mechanic because my dad too, he could fix it. You gotta fix it, okay? That's all I'm saying. You have to fix stuff if it breaks. But he never taught me to do anything because there's 5 kids, four boys, and he worked all the time. He works 10 hours a day, about 60 hours a week on average, or longer than that sometimes. Her dad worked 18 or 19 hours a day.
That's
for
insane.
6-7 weeks in a row.
Yeah, they're really hardworking people, but my dad, if he wanted something, he didn't wait around for somebody else to do it for him. Like,
Right.
for instance, he built things, if we needed something, he did it. He dug the storm cellar. I always remember that. That's a funny one because I love that. That was a torture chamber for my sister.
Right, with the spiders.
Yeah, spiders and snakes.
Well, there were never actually spiders down there. You'd always just make that up, right?
I don't know if they were or not.
But like you would
I
say,
wasn't afraid of them.
right?
So
And you would say,
I would say, better watch out for the spiders. I think I saw a snake over there. And she would start screaming and pull her legs up, and
That's funny. And that was Jane.
Yeah.
Okay. I know for sure. 7:49. I probably got another 5-10 minutes, give or take. Let me check what time my game is. It's 8:20. So yeah, I'll get another 5 minutes.
I have an idea. Why don't you just keep this for yourself, and then when we're dead and I don't really care, you can publish it to whoever.
I mean, think about it. Like, really, who's gonna watch this? You know,
I hope nobody.
not very many people. At least not at this point in
I
time.
can guarantee you nobody.
Yeah, close to no one. Yeah,
One of your family members might, but I don't see it.
maybe. I mean,
If it was them, they would watch it, but
It's a voice. It's not even a.
well, yeah, they would listen to it. But if you want to get technical, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe a ton of people will listen. Probably, I personally find it kind of unlikely. I'm just kind of having fun with making the podcast now. I enjoy doing it. I don't know if I plan to keep pursuing it. It's a cool hobby, and
you think you'll look at it 10 years after we're dead,
I would think so.
but I don't think you'll ever look at it again.
I disagree.
That was not true 50, 60 years ago, 100 years ago. But in today's world, just look back at all the pictures that Bailey has taken, selfies. And when I say Bailey, I mean everybody her age. Tell me one time they ever looked at those.
Well,
Say give it.
Maybe a little bit. I get what you're saying, and I get what you're arguing, and I totally agree with you. But I value memories, and in that sense, I am nostalgic. I like to record my life. Ever since freshman year of high school, I've had a journal that I write down what I did that weekend, whatever, any highlights of my life I like to record, which is why I like Instagram so much. I like to record my pictures
but
constantly.
does
You know?
that stay on Instagram?
Yeah, it stays on Instagram.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not uploading this to
Well,
Instagram. This will
here's
be,
the problem with that.
but
If you have 1 million of something, you're not going to look at any of them. And say 100,000 pictures. At the time you first get one of these until you actually go to work for a living, you can't text all the time or crap. How many pictures are you going to have in here? And say from age 10 to age 22.
well, I usually lose one pictures whenever I get a new phone. But I mean,
Oh,
like,
okay, not you, somebody else. I'm
should save
assuming,
them.
I'm assuming that they keep.
so you're arguing that whenever you get an overload of information or an overload of pictures, for example,
If you have 50,000,
they kind of lose their value.
why would you
Right.
look at a picture if you had 50,000 on your computer? From, so take 10, 12 years.
But then you can also say that's the incentive to look at them because they're 50,000. I think you look at them different if you have, if you have 10 pictures and
If you had 20 pictures of when you were 10, yeah, sure, man, you look at those things, you know, and show them to your kids. But you think you get let's say you got a 5-year, 6, so you got an 8-year-old son, okay, a few years now. Do you really think he's going to sit there and look at 5,000 pictures of daddy?
unlikely.
I think he'll pee in his pants and go someplace else and sneak away from you, so you don't get a spanking. I get 14 years old and he's peeing in his pants.
You're really not exaggerating too. Like think about the people, because I always like to emphasize that my generation's the first generation to walk around with a camera everywhere we go in their pocket. Like everybody, not just one or two people. Everyone walks around with a camera everywhere we go, and we carry that thing around religiously. And obviously, I'm talking about a cell phone, and like some of these people that had a phone, a camera in their pocket since they were 10 years old, taking pictures on it up until they were 40, and they found a way to save every single one of those pictures, you're probably not exaggerating. 50,000 is completely plausible.
Well, Bailey coming back from East Coast. I was sitting here and Bailey's sitting here. I guess Milena's in the back seat. And I don't know if it was an hour, 2 hours, 3. We were in the car about 20 hours, you know, all the way from Philadelphia to here. And she was sitting next to me, and I just why after another? And
Yeah, she's always taking selfies.
selfies. This is selfies.
But these aren't getting saved. These are just, it's like her form of communication. She chooses to, I don't understand. I don't have Snapchat. I think it's retarded.
Stay there. They don't go to your cloud.
No, this is Snapchat she's using. She likes to use
I don't think
Snapchat.
Snapchat existed back then.
No, I did. Snapchat's been around for a while. Whenever she went to Philadelphia, yeah, Snapchat was around. I can promise you that.
And that's where all the pictures automatically go?
They go away after, like you send them to one other person and then they... I think it's a slowed down form of communication. I think the way Bailey uses it, which I'm saying she takes a selfie and then she basically sends a text message. That's just the slowed down. Think about how much time she's wasted in her life just snapping a picture. I'm not here to belittle Bailey or anything, but that's an inefficient way to communicate.
Just an example. Everybody else.
Right.
You know?
And most people don't use Snapchat that way, but some people do, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Let me tell you this stuff. You probably need to leave, but this happened probably a week ago. Either a town or a state had to go to Congress, pass a law that you cannot text and walk across the street.
Wow.
Think about that. It must be so prevalent, you know, when people get out in the middle of the street.
Absolutely.
Maybe they're standing there and they don't know the light's red and the cars are coming this way, you know, start honking their horns. It must have gotten to some point now. Politicians don't know anything. They don't know anything. They don't fix a road until 10 people get killed on that road, and then they'll fix the road. They won't ever fix it, knowing it's probably going to happen. So I'm guessing that it got to be so bad, texting and walking across the street, that somebody must have.
That's crazy. That is crazy. I did not know that.
Number one, it takes them forever to make one law. And this is certainly not something that's important. So I bet you there was people like me calling them, you know, and saying these idiots won't get off. They don't want.
Yeah, that is crazy. You know? That's absolutely ridiculous.
You know, I'm honking at them, and they don't even know where they are. You know.
That is
pass the law now.
That's a problem because you're on autopilot whenever you're on your phone walking across something. You can't be in the middle of a street being on autopilot. Now,
here's the other thing. I mean, this is not part of it, but most laws are ignored. So policemen aren't going to arrest them for walking across like that. Number one, there won't be a policeman there when it happens. It'll continue to happen, and I think some states have it. You can text and drive, same thing. I think that
you can't text and drive.
I think it's
texting and driving is like universally, at least to my knowledge, it's pretty much all across the board illegal, and it should be. It's ridiculous.
But have you ever heard of anybody getting stopped or?
Well, it's a hard crime to catch somebody doing. Yeah. It's kind of like an integrity thing. Like that's what the law relies upon. But like you kind of they're trying to control people with like the fear of getting pulled over, or like some consequence.
The people that would get it would be, I'm a cop and I pull up right next to you.
Yeah, true. Like, how are you going to prove that? Realistically, like, that is a hard... I've never thought about that. That's a hard one to...
If I'm here at a stop sign, stoplight, and I look over there and you're texting, I can look at the driver, I can get your... Let you go off before me, and I can get the license plate.
But, like, still, how are you going to prove it 100%?
Well, it's just if you're a policeman, you know...
Maybe, like, a picture? That's the only thing I could think of.
You can take a picture of it, but, I mean, whatever they're told to do... I mean, policemen aren't going to lie.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're racist and it's a black dude, or if it was a black cop and a white dude...
Yeah, it's a hot topic right now.
I'd put all some of that crap in there, but...
Right. Just sprinkle some cocaine on it.
If I was a cop and I went in and told them something and they didn't believe me, I wouldn't be a cop anymore. You know? First of all, I'd kill them all. You know, everybody in the room, I'd kill them all, and I'd say, I'm resigning. Oh, you're all dead.
I actually have to
get... me resign.
I'm not trying to be rude, but I have to get out of here.
I know.
Do you guys want to go to my game, either one of you?
I'm not dressed. No, not me.
No, I'm disappointed in both of you.
I am too.
This is absolutely preposterous.
Preposterous.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Do you have time to take the Snickers out first?
I already took Snickers out whenever I first got here, which was like a little over an hour ago. Okay, so that concludes the podcast. Do you guys want to say anything to conclude it? You don't want to say anything, Grandma? The mic's on you. Ha ha ha.
You're funny, Jordan.
I know, I'm hilarious. Alright. See, that concludes another episode of My Subjective Perspective. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Yeah, let's conclude this. Bye. Bye!